Yes, good afternoon to all the students of class 12. Today we are going to start our class on your chapter 1, the last lesson. Previously we have completed this chapter, but I have prepared this PPT for you. So I will go to share it with you to explain few things with PPT regarding the chapter 1. I have already explained the first chapter is about the war between France and Persia, France and Germany. In this chapter, the writer wanted to explain the impact after war on the life of people and on the education of the students. Especially this chapter deals or explains about the impact on education after war. In this chapter, the writer explained with few characters such as Mr. M. Hamel, the teacher, boy Franz, and another sub-character. Explain very beautifully this chapter. The main theme of this chapter is the war and impact of war on the life of the people and on education of students. Basically, only these things explained here in the chapter. And important to know about this PPT. Important to explain about the PPT. So now my PPT is visible to all. Tell me yes or no.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you. Thank you. Thanks. My PPT is visible to you. This is the PPT of the first chapter, the last lesson written by Alphonse Daudet. Alphonse Daudet, mute your audio, please. Otherwise, I will forcefully mute you from here. Okay. The first chapter, the last lesson written by Alfonso Daudet. Alfonso Daudet was a French novelist or a story writer. In this slide, about Alfonso Daudet written here. Okay, Alfonso Daudet was a French novelist and short story writer, formerly a school teacher, and he quit it to make a living as a journalist in Paris. He also written for some newspaper and the magazines. He took to writing his poems collected into volumes and called verse, the poetry. In this slide, the slide represents the main theme of this chapter. It explains the main theme of this chapter. This story is narrated by a French boy named Franz. I've already explained it earlier to you. The main character of this chapter is M. Hamel and Mr. Boy Franz. The complete story narrates by a French boy named Franz, F-R-A-N-Z. He is a lazy boy, but sensitive and likes to play games. And other activities. He dislikes study French and hates his teacher, Mr. M. Hamel. Genuinely and generally, he dislikes studying French and hates his teacher, Mr. M. Hamel, the teacher of French language. Okay. After overpowering their district of Alsace and Lorraine, these two districts, after the defeat in war from Persia, from Germany, these two districts just gone into the custody of in the territory of Germany. Persian soldiers. After overpowering their district of Alsace and Lorraine in France, Berlin has ordered. What Berlin has ordered? I have already explained it to you earlier in the class. Berlin has ordered that German language instead of French be taught in the schools there. Order came from Berlin. Order came from headquarters. Only German language will be the language of schools and colleges, will be the language of people in these two districts, Alsace and Lorraine. And no French language will be in the existence. French language will not be the language of people, will not be the language of a student. And now the German will be the language of people and students. This order came from Berlin, headquarters of Germany. This is the PPT and I have already prepared it for you today. It is the last day. Now in this slide, see, in this slide, it's also a very important slide. This slide explains few things about the last day of Mr. M. Hamel's class. On the last day, they were very sincere. Who were very sincere? Students and villagers regarding the subject and teacher both. Regarding the mother tongue and teacher both. It is the last day of their French teacher, M. Hamel, who has been there for 40 years. M. Hamel, who had given 40 years of his service as a French language teacher there in the village. And after this 40 years service, he is going to leave the school due to the order came from Berlin. Only the German language will be the language of his school instead of French language. He is in full of grief, nostalgia and patriotism. Who is in full of grief? Mr. M. Hamel is in full of grief, nostalgia and patriotism. Somehow he wanted to make live the French language in the heart of the people of Alsace and Lorraine. Make live in the heart of the people of that village. So he did and made all possible efforts to explain French language, one of the best language in the world, most logical and most convincing. He explained it to the students. Now see this slide. As a mark of respect to his hard work, the villagemen also attend. The villagemen also attend the class of last lesson, the class of French language. As a mark of respect, to the teacher or as a mark of respect regarding the language. They attended the class of the French language, last class of French language, to show their love, respect, and emotion regarding their mother tongue, regarding the teacher who had given the 40 years of service there in that village. They are sad as they didn't learn their mother tongue French in their childhood. They are sad. Why they are sad? Because they didn't learn their mother tongue, in French language, in their childhood days, in their childhood times. Due to the lack of school and other basic amenities, they didn't learn their mother tongue. And this is the last day and the last chance for them to learn few things about mother tongues on the last day in the class of Mr. M. Hamel. And about these things, this slide explained. I've already explained a lot of things to you when we have discussed about our class and text paraphrasing, explained about that old houser, former mayor, all the rest of all the villagers and all the students were there on that day in the class of Mr. M. Havel, the last class of French language. Franz is shocked to know that it is his last lesson. Now in the mid of the session, in the mid of the class, he understood and just came to know about the fact that this is his last lesson in French language. He was shocked and he didn't know about the French before that because he was not good in a study. He was not good at a study and never likes his teacher, Mr. M. Hamel. He dislikes his teacher, Mr. M. Hamel, due to the boring class in French language. He was shocked. Franz was shocked to know that this is his last lesson, last class. Apart from that, he didn't know a thing, he doesn't know about a word or a thing or a statement regarding the French language or the French word. Now suddenly he gets interested in learning it and understands everything taught on that day. Now suddenly he gets interested in learning. Why he gets interested in learning suddenly on the last day? When he knew the fact that this is the last lesson and last class of his French language, of his mother tongue, suddenly all the things came into his mind, idea came into his mind, suddenly all the things understood by him in a very well-mannered way, in a quick mannered way in the class, during the class of Hamel. And understand everything taught on that day, taught on the board by the teacher M. Hamel. I have already shared this PPT to you. I will share it again. I have my PPT. I will share it to you. Now suddenly he gets interested in learning. I have already explained these things. And on that day, he understood the things well. He understood all the things well that have been taught by the teacher, Mr. MML, in the last class, French language. Because that was the class, that was his last class, so he understood. So he understood the chapter, lesson, words, statement of the teacher well, like a good student of his class. And after that, he develops an instant liking for the teacher. After that, he develops an instant liking for the teacher MML and respect him for his sincerity and hard work. For his sincerity and hard work. After that, after this incident, he develops an instant liking for the teacher MML and respect him for his sincerity and hard work. In this slide, in the same slide, he feels sad at departing from him and is ashamed for not being able to recite the lesson of participle. He feels sad. Why he feels sad? Because he feels sad because he was not able to learn the things and the rules of participles in French language. He was unable to learn the things. He was unable to explain the things in French language. Since he was unable to know about the rules, apart from that, because this was his last class. So he was ashamed. Because he was not interested in French language. He dislikes his teacher, Mr. M. Hamel. So he was ashamed. He was unable to explain anything in French language. He didn't know anything about French language. Now in this slide, M. Hamel tells the students that they all are at fault for not being eager enough to learn, putting it off the next day. He blames himself for not teaching them sincerely. I've already explained during the class, he blames himself and the parents of the students too. Why he blames himself and parents of the students too? He blames the parents of the students. The parents of the students wanted to make much more money from his children by giving them the work to any other shops or any other places. And he was also not so very sincere at the time of teaching French language in the school. All of a sudden, he gave holiday to them when he wanted to go for fishing. Sometimes he said, today is the day of you to water my plants and trees. He was also not sincere regarding the teaching French language. He blames himself and parents equally for not having and for not giving proper learning and proper education to the children, to the students regarding French language. His patriotism, whose patriotism is reflected, patriotism of teacher Mr. M. He was a true patriotic man, true patriotic person. Patriotic means deshbhakt. Patriotism is reflected in his praise for the French language as being the most beautiful and most logical language in the world. I have explained earlier to you. As a patriotic person, he explained the French is one of the most beautiful and most logical language in the world. He tells the class to guard their language as being close to one's language is the key to escape from the prison of slavery. If you want to escape from the prison of slavery, you must hold, you must be strong, you must protect your mother tongue. Then your mother tongue will protect you from the prison of slavery. It will help them in getting free from Germans. And this motive, this motivation help them, help the students and the people of that village in getting free from Germans. Now in the next slide, in this slide, they realize the importance of learning their mother tongue. And now after the class, after the motivation of the French teacher, Mr. M. in the class, they realize the importance of their mother tongue, importance of learning. And that they have been defeated by the Germans because of their illiteracy. They had been defeated by the Germans due to their illiteracy. If you are literate, if you are strong in your study, strong in your education, you can't be defeated by anyone. This is the motivation of the teacher MML in the class to the student. Here in this, during this slide, I want to explain a slogan. Education is the chief defense of any nation. ये एक slogan है. Education is the chief defense of any nation. किसी भी राष्ट्र का सबसे बड़ा डिफेंसिव पावर क्या है? उसका एजुकेशन. किसी भी राष्ट्र में, किसी भी देश का एजुकेशन अगर स्ट्रॉन्ग है, एजुकेशन स्टैंडर्ड स्ट्रॉन्ग है, तो उसका सबसे बड़ा डिफेंडर भी वही है. उसका एजुकेशन उसको हमेशा डिफेंड करता है. इंडिया के साथ भी यही है. इंडिया का एजुकेशन इसको बहुत डिफेंड करता है. वर्ल्ड में इसके एजुकेशन का भी एक अलग रैंक है. वर्ल्ड के टॉप 10 सीईओज, बड़ी बड़ी कंपनी के मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर, एमडीज, ग्रेट बिग पर्सनालिटीज देखो तो सारे के सारे इंडियंस हैं. So if you are educated, no one can defeat you. And you are being defeated here only by literacy. Okay, I will send the PPT to your group. I have already sent one. Will send it to also. Now the next, France feels that it is not possible to take away one's language from a person. France feels that. Now he feels that. Who feels that? France, the boy, feels that it is not possible to take away one's language, one's education due to any region, due to any way. ये पॉसिबल नहीं है कि किसी के एजुकेशन को छीन लिया जाए, किसी की प्रॉपर्टी को आप छीन सकते हैं. But not to take away the language, not to take away the education of a person or anyone. As it is natural to each being, may it be the food to the pigeons or French to the Frenchman. It is the big symbol. I've already explained it to you in the class. It is the symbol. The pigeon is a symbolic word that has been used by the poet in his poetry. Sorry, used by the writer in this story, not poetry, the story. Why the pigeons? Pigeons are considered as one of the most peaceful bird in the world. शांति प्रिय में सबके यूज सिंबल को रिप्रेजेंट करने के लिए हम लोग pigeons का यूज करते हैं, कबूतर. Means people are as like as the pigeons. They wanted to be free, but due to the war, due to these regions, they are unable to make free themselves. They are unable to make free themselves due to the war, due to these things. Now this is the last slide, and this was the last slide, and thank you. And now I'm going to stop my screen sharing recording first. This is the over of your class.